So, you just got two or more job offers, some from a startup and some from a big tech company. First, congrats for a job well done. Or, if you're just here to do some research on what it's like working at startups, as opposed to what it's like working at a big tech company, then keep on watching. In this video snippet, I will be talking about what it's like from my experience working at different startups and now at a big tech company as a software engineer. First, some ground rules. This is not a pros and cons list because everyone's experience is different and those are very subjective. Some things that I like could be some things that you hate and vice versa. Additionally, every tech startup is different as well as every tech company. But there's always something that they share. Basically, what I'm saying is that you should just take my experiences as one data point as you make your decision in terms of joining either a tech startup or a big tech company. Let's start with the juiciest part, the money. Basically, every company offers a blend of different ways on how to compensate you. The most common things you would see here are your base salary, your RSUs or stock options, yearly bonus, and sometimes a signing bonus. I'd like to start going about big tech first because it's actually easier to go over given the number of data points and references you have out there. It's no secret that they pay top of the market when it comes to compensation. You can see a new grad get a six-figure salary right off the bat. And as you progress through your career and join a more senior role, it's not that hard to see your TC go 2x or 3x from where you started. I'm not going over the specifics here in terms of numbers because every offer differs per person, but there's definitely a general ballpark in terms of what you should expect when it comes to the specific role slash level that you are applying for. You can see most of this data from sites like Glassdoor, levels.fyi, Blind, or even YouTube. Now, with startups. In general, the main thing that they try to sell to you is the promise of huge returns once they go public or be bought by a bigger company. The smaller or younger the startup is, the lower you can expect your base salary to be, but this is balanced out by a higher equity stake or ownership in the company. It's also very typical to not see a yearly bonus or signing bonus as part of your TC. So, depending on how young or what stage the startup is when you join them, it's definitely a leap of faith and it's a high risk, high reward scenario. Let's also briefly go over about benefits. Now, every company should have decent essential benefits like health insurance and retirement plans. But you can also think about your current situation. For example, having a great parental leave policy is good if you're expecting to start a family soon. Also, the smaller ones like free food throughout the day could be very important to other people because, after all, that's hundreds of dollars a month that you don't have to spend. Now, about my experience. Before I joined Facebook, I worked at three different startups for the first decade of my career. The first two experienced a period of high growth and potential, but it became flat and even went downhill at some point. The last one that I was part of was Roblox. If you are familiar with a company, it was definitely not an easy road. It's already almost a decade old when I joined, and it was still under 200 employees. But for the past 5 years, it experienced tremendous amount of growth, and as you know, they went IPO in early 2021. As part of that journey, I am in a better state financially where I can choose to retire if I want to, just probably not in Silicon Valley where the cost of living is also ridiculous. There's really so much to unpack here in terms of compensation and benefits, and it probably deserves its own video later. The second main point I want to talk about is company culture. Now, this is especially hard to gauge, especially if you don't know anyone at the company that can give you a little bit of perspective, their thoughts and opinions about it. After all, most of the time, you only get a glimpse of company culture whenever you interview with people, and that's an extremely short period of time. This is even harder to research when it comes to small startups, where you can't just Google what the company culture is like. The best thing I can offer here is to go over my experience within the team and company culture that I've been part of. Now, obviously, some of this might have changed by now, but these were my experiences when I was part of that company. For my first job, which is in a startup, I was part of an engineering team where the average age is probably in the mid 30s. These people are much older, they have families, and they're mainly looking to work and go home. Now, I was young, I was obviously looking to hang out after work, go to a bar, have friends, etc. As you can see, work became just about work, and relationships were very professional. But that's not to say that I did not build any relationships at all. In fact, some of my closest friends today are from that first job. However, they were not part of my team or even the engineering org. The company was just small enough that everyone knew each other, and they were the ones that were in my age group and shared the same interests as me. After a year and a half in that company, I decided that I wanted to work in a different product and also find a company culture where I could fit in better. So I started looking at jobs in the video game industry. Now, my past two jobs were about 4 years each, and I stayed very long because I enjoyed working with the people in there, and work did not just feel like work. I grabbed dinner with coworkers, we went to events on the weekends, and there's definitely a good sense of being part of a team. Now, I know the gaming industry can get a bad rep in terms of culture sometimes, but obviously it's not always the same for every company. And the places that I worked in, everyone definitely treated each other with respect. So now with big tech. First, given that I've only worked at Facebook, I can only give a data point that could be entirely unique to Facebook. Second, I joined Facebook the week after COVID happened, so I've been remote the whole time. So this could be a good data point for someone that's thinking about working remote in general. However, for in person experience, I can only give what I expect is going to happen. With remote work, it's definitely much harder to build relationships. After all, your communication with your team and other co workers are constrained within virtual meetings. On top of that, it's hard to keep consistent communication with people outside of your immediate team. So there's definitely less chances for informal conversations, getting to know people outside the context of work. Now, my expectations when it comes to being back in the office is that I will be part of micro cultures outside of my specific team. The company is so big that there are multitude of groups formed around specific interests. Think about when you were back in high school or in university and there are clubs that you would join because of a specific hobby or passion that you have. In general, I am happy with the culture within my current team and I look forward to building a better relationship with them. The next thing to consider is the actual product or work that you would be doing. In a startup, you can definitely expect to wear many different hats. Now, this could be a good thing when it comes to having a bigger breadth in terms of gaining experience with different technologies. By doing this, you can also learn what parts of the stack that you're most interested in. For example, it's the front end or the server or even data analytics. At a big tech company, however, your work will be much more focused at a specific product that your team is building, but also at the specific code base that you touch. The expectation is that you're an expert in that role that you're doing, so you would be much more efficient at accomplishing tasks. However, that's not to say that you're totally constrained with that specific role or tech stack. In fact, it's highly valued that you are flexible and able to adapt. Another thing to point out is that when you interview for a startup, you often get to converse directly with the team that you're going to work with. This is good because you can ask them a lot of questions about the initial projects that you are going to be working on. This could influence your decision a lot when trying to see if you want to join that company. In contrast with Google or Facebook, you go through a very generic interview process. Now, only after you've accepted the offer do you get to pick a team or product that you want to join. At first, I thought, oh wow, that sucks. What if I ended up with a team or working on a product that I'm not passionate about? But honestly, the company is so big that you're going to have more problems deciding which team you want to join and what product you want to work on. As a last comparison, I want to go over how various systems and procedures are set up when a company grows from being a startup to a big company. As you might assume, there's a lot more freedom when it comes to startup in terms of how things get done. Let me go through a couple of scenarios to illustrate this. So here's how a first week in a startup might look like. Day 1, meet your team, sign some forms. Day 2, here's your workstation. Here's some bugs to fix. Day 3, oh, you're still here? Any updates on those bugs? Day 4, so you're an expert now, right? Here's a big project for you to work on. And here's how a first week in a big company could look like. Day 1, orientation. Day 2, orientation. Day 3, here's your workstation and 100 pages of policies and things that you should read on about. Day 4, so let's go and figure out how you can print Hello World. Anyway, you get the gist, right? As a company grows, the more systems and policies are put into place. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, I know some people who just wants to go and create and code instead of sitting on 7 hours of meeting on figuring out what's the best way to print Hello World. So there you have it. I could really go on, but this is already a good summary of the experiences I've had so far in my professional career. I know everyone has their own unique experiences and perspectives to offer, so don't forget to leave a comment down below to share others your story. And please don't forget to like if you like this content and it has been helpful to you, and to subscribe to get notified of future videos. Till next time!